Welcome to Google Forms. This is an introduction, no more paper using Google Forms. And we are going to go ahead and get started. I only have one person with me today, and that is Kimberly. So Kimberly, you pretty much have a private tutoring session that lets other people come in, and you've already signed in, so that's awesome, just to make sure that you get your certificate. So let's move on. A little bit about me. A little bit about me. I am the Regional Director of North Louisiana for Apple or APAL. I also have my own consulting company, which is sponsoring this session, and that is Educator Alexander Consulting. If you need any materials or anything like that, you can find it on educatoralexander.com. I do ask that you do a comment on my website after this session. I like to tell you in the beginning just in case you have to leave early, but do a comment if you go to educatoralexander.com/comment, or in the web links toolbox at the bottom right hand corner you'll see evaluation. If you just click evaluation and then click browse to, it will bring you to that screen for you to leave a comment, good, bad, or ugly, about the session today. And this is my contact information, so if you need anything, my website is where all the materials can be found. And then this is my email address. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I am going to share my screen with you, so you'll be seeing my actual screen. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to go step by step of how to create a Google form. So you'll know what all the little buttons do. If you have any questions, I want to teach you how to raise your hand so I can see it. If you see the little man at the top middle of your screen, you see a little guy with his hand raised. Go ahead and click him right now. All right, beautiful. Go ahead and click him again, and that's how you put your hand down. So if you have a question, because I'm not going to be on this screen, I'm going to be seeing my computer screen. So if you have a question, just raise your hand, and I'll get your question. You can ask throughout. So if it's like, repeat that, or what does that do again, just raise your hand, no problem, and I will come and answer any question that you have. All right, let's get started. I'm going to put this back right here, and now I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, you should be seeing my Google Drive. Go ahead and raise your hand if you see my Google Drive. All right, you can go put your hand down. All right, so this is Google Drive, and this is how you get to your Google Forms. So if you come here to the big blue New button, you simply click the New button, and if you notice, you don't see Google Forms here. But if you go and you just put your mouse to hover over more, that's where you'll see Google Forms. Okay, so if you do that, you go to Google Forms, you see this little arrow, it has blank form and form a template from a template. I'm going to show you the template part on Google Forms part 2. So right now we're only going to stick to doing just a blank form. So I'm just going to click on Google Forms, and this is how we get started. Okay, this is a Google form. The first thing I'm going to show you are the 2 titles. And again, any questions at all, just raise your hand. So you have 2 places to put a title. You have right up here where it says Entitled Form, and right here where it says Entitled Form. The one up here is actually where is going to be your file name. So when it saves in your Google Drive, it's going to be called whatever you put up here. The one right here is what people are going to see on your actual form. So I'm going to come up here and call this Survey for Teachers of Math. So that's what my file name is going to be called, so I can remember what this is. When I come down here and I click on it, Google Forms is going to say, oh, you want it to be called the same thing, right? Well, no, I don't, because this is what people are actually going to see. So I just want this one to be called Survey. So I'm going to take all this off, and now you see I have 2 different titles. This is the one that's going to be my file name, and this is the one that people are actually going to see. You see right here where it says Form Description. Anytime you see the word description on the Google form, that means directions. So description equals directions. So I can come here and say, please fill out this form, if I can spell today, by Monday, August 14th at noon. Fill out the complete form. And I capitalize form because I'm talking about a Google form. Okay, so there I go. I have my title, I have my directions. If you notice up here where it says all changes saved in Drive, if I come down here and keep typing, notice that it automatically saves. So you do not have a save button. It will automatically save. Notice it's going to save again. So if I exited off this and left, it will automatically be saved in my Google Drive. Okay. The little star up here is just to make it a favorite in my Google Drive. It really has nothing to do with the form itself, but it's just to make it a favorite in my Google Drive. And this is to put it in a different folder in my Google Drive. So these two really don't have anything to do with the form itself. It's just how you want it to be saved in your Google Drive. All right. Google Drive automatically gives you your first question, because you can't have a form without at least one question. Okay, so notice how this little thing is blue right here. That's telling me that this box is activated. When I come down here and click on my first question, now my question box is activated. Okay, so you have different types of questions. If you click here, you see all the different types of questions. Let me see. I think I may have a question. Let me make sure. Okay, no question. Okay, so this is the box that's activated, and these are the different types of questions. I like that it gives you a little line, and it kind of organizes your different question types for you. So we're going to go through each and every one of these question types. Every time you add a question, multiple choice will be the default question type. Okay, so I'm going to put this to short answer because I want to go through each one of them in a row. Now, usually the first question you ask on a Google form is name. But before you put name, anytime you add a question, you need to think about how are your results going to look. What do I mean by that? So your results are going to be on a spreadsheet. Oops, excuse me for this. Sorry about that. Your results are going to be on a spreadsheet. So think about, how do you want your results on that spreadsheet? Do you want to just say name, where you have first and last name in the same cell? Because if you have first and last name in the same cell, can you filter by last name? Can you sort by last name? No, because first and last name is in the same cell. So you want to think about your results and how you want your results ahead of time. So what that means is, if I ever want to filter and put my list in alphabetical order by last name, that means I need last name in a box by itself. If I want that, that means I need last name as a question by itself. Same thing when you get to address. Will you ever want to filter by state? If you do, then it means you want state to be a question by itself, so it could be a cell, a box by itself. So any questions like that, you want to think about, how do I want my results? That will determine how you put your questions. Another thing you want to think about is what grade level, what is the grade level of your audience? So for example, if I'm dealing with, let's say, elementary students, instead of just saying last name, I'm going to say, what is your last name, question mark. If I'm dealing with adults, I could just put last name. If you don't know what that means, you probably shouldn't be filling out my form. Okay, so think about that too, because it'll help you format your questions. So I'm going to assume I'm dealing with adults, And I'm just going to put right here where it says untitled question. That's where I actually type in my question. So I'm going to put last name right here. Okay. Where it says short answer text, this is where they will actually type in their answer. I'm going to skip this little button right here for a second. If I wanted to just delete this whole question, I could just use the little trash can right here. And this is where I come to make this a required question. That means they have to answer this before they submit. If I have multiple pages on my Google form, that means they have to answer this before they go to page 2. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make this required. Anytime you see the little hot dogs or the 3 little buttons or whatever you want to call it, I call it hot dogs. Anytime you see the little hot dogs, that means these are more options. Now, some of the options I'm not going to go through in part 1. That's what we go through in part 2. But if you look at the little hot dogs, if I click here, notice I can put a description. And remember, description equals directions. So if I wanted to put a description right here, I would click that. And then I would come here and put, please type last name only. And maybe if I put enough of these exclamation points, they'll read the directions. Okay? If I didn't want this anymore, I could just come here and take it off and it won't show up. Alright, so I have my question. Since my first question is last name, usually my second question will be first name. So instead of adding a question and kind of doing all these settings again, all I need to do is change the word last to first. So I'm going to use this little, looks like a little deck of cards, and I'm going to say duplicate this question. Because what's that saying is I want this exact same question with all these same settings, because all I need to do is change a couple of words. So I'm going to say duplicate. What it does is it gives me the exact same question. It's required. It has all the same settings. But now I can come here and then just change this to first name. And then don't forget, if you put directions down here, you may want to read your directions and make sure your directions still make sense. I'm done. Now, if I don't want to duplicate, but I just want to add another question, I'm going to come right here to the plus sign. Add question. Remember, my default is always multiple choice. So I'm going to come here and change it to paragraph. Short answer is, of course, when you want them to type in a shorter answer. Paragraph is when you want them to type in a longer answer. So I'm going to say my question is, how are you feeling today? I'm not going to make this required. I don't need any directions. I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to add another question. Now we're on multiple choice, check boxes, and drop down. What's the difference between the 3? Multiple choice is when you have one correct answer. Check boxes is when you have more than one correct answer. Drop down, you can only have one correct answer, but you use drop down when you have a bunch of answer choices. If you have so many answer choices where it's going to make your form super long just from that one question, use drop down. Okay? So for example, if I asked you, what is your favorite NFL team? Imagine all the answer choices that I would have to type on here. So instead of doing multiple choice, I only want you to choose one, I'm going to do drop down. And I'm going to show you the difference as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and choose multiple choice first. I'm going to ask the question, what is your favorite color? Right here where I have the word option 1, I'm going to click and put my first option for the answer. Then I'm going to come down here, it says add option or add other. I'm going to click add option because I want to add another color option. I'm going to keep doing that until I am done. Add other gives you a box that says other, and then they can type in their answer. But oh man, I forgot to put green up here. Notice what happens to my other box when I click add option. Other always will be your last answer choice. So you don't have to worry about missing an answer choice and you have to type them all over again. Other will always be at the end. If you ever want to get rid of an answer choice, notice you have a big X and you can remove it. But you know what? My favorite color is purple, and I actually want purple to be the first answer choice. I want to do some subliminal messaging to tell them how awesome purple is. I don't have to type this whole list again. What I can do is I can come to purple, and notice I have some double hot dogs right here. I can click the double hot dogs and I can move purple wherever I want to move purple. Okay? And if you have really good eyes, you're like, okay, I see some double hot dogs right here, but I also see double hot dogs up here. That means you can click here and move your question around. So you never have to worry about, oh no, I wanted that question to be first and I didn't put it first. That's okay. You can just move your question around however you want to move them. Okay? So what I'm going to do for the sake of time is I'm going to duplicate this question. I'm going to make this same question a checkbox question. And I'm going to make this same question, duplicate it again, a drop-down question so we can see the difference. Anytime you want to kind of stop and see how your form will look to the outside world, you just scroll up and you click the little eyeball. That's preview. When I click preview, this is actually how my form will look to the outside world. And this form is a live active form. So what does that mean? That means if I go ahead and fill out this form right now, if I go ahead and fill out this form right now, I will get the results. This is a live active form. So let's see how my form will look to the outside world. I have my title. I have my directions. This tells me what questions are required. Okay. All right. I have my paragraph. Then I have my multiple choice, my short, and check boxes, and my drop down. Multiple choice, notice I have my other, where I can type something in, or I can choose only one. Check boxes, I can choose all of them. Remember, check boxes is when you want them to have multiple different right answers. And then drop down, remember, is when you have a whole bunch of answer choices, because now this is all they're going to see. And then if they click the drop down, then they see all the answer choices. So that way it's not making your form super long and they only can choose one. Okay? Now I call it a little glitch. I'm guessing it's not a glitch because it's been this way for a couple of years. But just to let you know, for drop down, if I come here and I say, you know what, I don't want to answer this question anymore, I can come here and just click choose and it won't have an answer. For check boxes, I can just uncheck them all. But for multiple choice, once you choose an answer, you cannot unchoose an answer. You can choose a different answer, but it will not let you completely not answer that question. So just to let you know, just in case you're giving a quiz or something like that, and the question is optional, you may want to always put an other, where I can come here and put none. Or you may want to put an NA as your answer choice, not applicable. Because as soon as you click one, even if you click it by mistake, you cannot unclick it. You have to answer this question. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and get back to editing. All this looks good to me. To get back to editing, I can just click the pencil in the corner. Or what I usually do is I just go back to my tab right here. Either way. And I usually get rid of this tab and click leave. Okay. Question. Go right ahead, Kimberly. Yes, we just haven't gotten to that yet. Yep, I just go step by step. No problem at all. Always ask everything. Okay, so we've gotten these question types. Let's move on. Now we have file upload. Now, if you click on file upload, it's going to give you some directions. For a Google form, if you want someone to upload a file, you may want them to upload a certificate, you may want them to upload their resume, you may want them to upload their signature. Maybe you need an original signature for something. But as soon as you put the file upload on here, that means everyone who fills out your Google form must sign in. So do understand that. So if you're sending it to people and you don't know if they have a Google account, you may not want to put file upload in your form. Because if you do, they have to sign into a Google account to fill out your form. And that's what this is kind of saying. It's also saying make sure to only share this with people you trust, just because they can upload a file. So just because you're asking for a resume, if I want to upload a naked picture and sing it through the form, I can. So that's why they just kind of say you may want to sing it to only people that you trust. So if I wanted to go ahead and do this and get some files uploaded, I would click continue. And then I have some options. First of all, do I only want to allow certain file types? If I say yes, I can pick the different file types I want to include. So I may say I only want an image and I only want a PDF. So I don't want you to send any of this other stuff. Okay, or I can say, you know what? They can send whatever they want to and I can turn this off. You can also put how many files can they upload. If I'm asking you for a resume, then maybe I only want one file. I don't want you to send me anything else. If I'm asking you for certificates, maybe I'm saying give me your certificates of all the training you went to this year. Then maybe I want to limit it to 5 or 10. Okay? You can also limit the file size. Now I'm going to show you a different section where you can make this up to 1 terabyte. 1 terabyte is pretty much an entire hard drive. I don't know why you would want anybody to upload a whole hard drive to your Google form, but it's up to you. The default is the biggest one is 10 gigabytes. Okay, but there's another section on here where you can make that, like I said, up to 1 terabyte. But you can say, you know what, I want you to upload files, but I don't want it to, crash my computer. So you only get 1 gigabyte. I don't want you to go past 1 gigabyte. And this is if they put more than 1 gigabyte, this is what they're going to get. If you click change, you can actually change it to 1 terabyte or anything else. You can find this in a different section too. Okay. Alright, and again, you can make this required or not. Now, the one thing that people make a mistake on this with is that they send it, but they don't put a question. What am I uploading? So you don't forget to put a question here. So you would say something like, upload your resume here. Okay. And I'm going to leave it here so we can see how it looks. Add another question. Now we're going to linear scale, multiple choice grid, and checkbox grid. We already know that multiple choice means one answer. Checkbox means multiple answers. So let's see how this looks. Linear scale. On the linear scale, you can have from 0 to 10. I'm just going to leave it from 1 to 5. I'm going to say 1 means great and 5 means horrible. Again, another common mistake is you don't put a question. You have to tell me what am I grading. So I'm going to say, how are you feeling today? So let's go up and preview this so we can see how this looks. Oh, that's because of my, give me 1 second. I know, it's because of my, the form. I'll put it back to 10. All right, that's good enough. All right, now let's preview it. This is how my file upload looks. So if I click it, it's going to bring me to my computer and I can add a file. You can add it from your drive, however you want to add it. And then this is my linear scale. So you see it gives me 1, 2, and I can say, oh no. And remember, it's multiple choice, so once they click one, they got to click one. But they can say I'm feeling great to horrible. Now the only thing you can't really do is tell me what number 1 is, what number 2 is, what number 3 is, what number 4 is. But if you really think about it, you can do that through your directions. So if I come down here and I go to my hot dogs and I do a description, I can say 1 equals great. 2 equals kinda great. 3 equals meh. So you get the point. And I can just keep going. So you can put it in your directions, and then when you come up here and preview it, this is how it will look. So it will tell me what 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is. Just a little tip. Let's add another question. Any questions at all, just raise your hand. I don't mind repeating anything or anything like that. So we have check boxes and drop down. I'm sorry, multiple choice grid and check boxes grid. Multiple choice grid. Now, it's easier for me to show you how this looks than to kind of explain it. I've learned that through my multiple years of teaching Google Forms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a question up here that says, what is your favorite dessert flavor? So I have rows and columns, and I promise you this is going to make sense when you see it. So on my rows, I'm going to put cake, candy, and ice cream. So those are some desserts. Over here, I'm going to put some flavors. Chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. Notice the little X if I want to remove something. Double hot dogs if I want to move it around. So let's see how this looks, and then you'll understand what we're doing. This is a multiple choice grid. So if you look at this, your answer choices have to make sense for everything that you put. Your answer choices have to make sense for every topic. So usually when I try to explain this, it's like, what? And then until you see it, you're like, oh. So chocolate has to make sense with every dessert I put here. Vanilla has to make sense with every dessert. So usually for a school or a company, how you would use this is for a survey. You would put, how clean is our school? Then you would put bathroom, classroom, cafeteria. And then you will put very clean, kind of clean, not clean at all. And not clean at all can make sense with all 3 of those locations. Very clean will make sense with all 3 of those locations. So usually that's how you would use this. Because this is multiple choice grid, I can only have 1 answer per row. When I get to, I'm going to duplicate this and change it into a checkbox grid. For a checkbox grid, I can have multiple answers. I can say both of these for cake is my favorite. Now notice you have that you can require a response per row. That means they have to answer each row to move on. Okay? Any questions so far? If I don't see your hand, I'm going to assume no. Okay? Now we have date and time. These are our last two types of questions. So for date and time, please never, never, never put on your Google form what is today's date or when are you turning this in. Every time someone submits an answer, it is time, date, stamped. Okay? So that means on your results, it will automatically tell you what time and what date they are turning it in. So you never have to use that for this. So then I usually have people asking me, well, why do you have a date and a time question? Well, what if you want to ask someone what date do you want to meet? Or what date do you want to have the dance? So I'm going to put date. And I'm going to say, what date do you want to meet? Okay. I have two options when you deal with date. Include time and include year. Include time, you'll do that if you want the date and the time in the same cell. Remember, everything is about your results. So if you want it in the same cell, that's what you will put include time. If you don't, you would leave it blank. I'm going to show you one that includes the year, and then I'm going to duplicate it and show you one that does not include the year. Let's look at the difference between the two. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. This is the one that includes the year. So if you have it including the year, if they click on this, they get a nice little calendar where they can go from, month to month, year to year, and they can just click on the date and you'll have it there. They can also click on this and change it if they want to. If you do not include the year, they have to actually just put the day, the month, and the day on here because you know what year it is, so you don't need the year. I suggest always giving them a little calendar. It just makes it easy for people to click. Just a suggestion from me. Now I'm going to create a different question, and let's look at time. Again, you need a question. What time do you want to meet? The slower I try to type, the more mistakes I make. What time do you want to meet? Now with this one, you have time and you have duration. Let's look at the difference. I'm going to leave that one on time. And I'm going to duplicate and put this one as duration. Let's see how that looks. So time, they would have to say, I want to meet at 3:15, and they can say AM or PM. For duration, you're going to say, I want the staff meeting to be 2 minutes long. Don't we all? Okay, so this one will say, what time do you want to meet? This one will say, how long do you want to meet? Any questions? These are all the file types, question types. All right, let's look at this little section. Okay, no questions at all? We're good? Okay, just making sure. All right, so let's look at what all these little icons do, and then we will flow on up to the top. TT is for title and description. I'm going to show you what it does. It's really, really cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on, I'm going to click right on first name. Whenever you add something, it's going to add underneath the active box. Okay, it's going to add underneath the active box. Again, it doesn't really matter because you can always move it around. But I'm going to come up here to first name because I want my title to be underneath first name. So I'm going to click title, and notice it has a place for title and it has a place for description. If I don't type a description right here, nothing will show up. So I'm going to put a title and put, these are where the questions start. Let's see how that looks. Ta-da! So what title does is it gives you a nice little break in your form. The color of your title will always match whatever color your form is. We're going to talk about how to change that in a second. Okay? But it gives you a nice little break, and you can have little sections in your form. And you can put a title or a description wherever you want to by using the TT. I'm going to go back to the bottom of my form. Yes, Kimberly? You have a question? I have never run into a form where it had a limited number of questions. So, as far as I know, you can have as many questions as you want to. And I've seen very long forms. Any other questions? You would just put the number on it, like that. There's not like a setting, no. But you can number your questions just like this. Any other questions? Good questions. Okie dokie. Okay. So now we're going to look at this one right here, and that is adding image. And we're going to talk about images right now. So if I click adding image, what it's going to do is directly says, okay, well, what image do you want to add? Where's the image that you want to add? So I can go to Google Drive or anywhere I want to and add an image. When I add the image, I can click on the little hot dogs and align it. And you saw that I could remove it. I can also click on the image and make it bigger or smaller. If I don't put a title right here, nothing will show up. And then if you want to ask a question about the image, you can just add a question underneath it. Okay, so you can go ahead and put a question right under it. And notice what happened, because this is something I was going to go over a little bit later. But notice, I'm going to delete this question for a second. Okay, so I'm going to come up here and click add question again. Notice that it's multiple choice, right? But I want you to look right here. When I put how cute is he, notice that it automatically changed it to linear scale. This is a new feature in Google Forms. So what it's doing is it's called predictive questioning. So when you type a question, it's going to try to predict what type of question you want. Kind of cool. So if I click here and go, well, no, I really did want it to be multiple choice, then I can just change it myself. But it's going to predict. So if that changes, don't think it's a ghost in your computer. It's just the predictive questioning happening. So I'm going to put he is very cute or he is very cute. Okay, so let's look at how that looks. So I can come up here, and if you notice, the picture and the question looks like they belong together. Now, that was using the picture option, but guess what? There's an easier way to do this now. This is kind of the old school way. If I go back up here to one of my questions, I'm going to go to my multiple choice. Notice that every time I hover over, I get this little picture image. This is the little symbol for a picture. So what that's telling you is you can actually click here and put a picture for your question. You can also click here and put pictures for your answer choices. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so it said, what is your favorite color? I can go find a picture of different colors and just make it more interesting. And then instead of just putting the word purple, I can actually put a big block of purple here, a big block of red, and make your quiz even more interesting. This is also very helpful for math teachers who want to put equations and things like that. Art teachers who want to ask about paintings. It can be used for multiple different things. How did I do that? As soon as you click on something, you have the little box. That's how you can do an image. Pretty cool. I also use this sometimes to put a thank you image at the bottom of my form. So I don't have a question with it. I just have a little thank you image that just says thank you for filling out the form. Next, we have adding a YouTube video. So you can actually add a video to your form by either searching for the video, or if you already have the YouTube URL, you can just copy and paste it right here. I'm just going to search for a cat video. Of course, you should always review the video and watch the whole thing first. So I can just click here and just watch the video. I like it, so I'm going to click on it. I have the video. I can click on my hot dogs. Okay, I can make the video a little bit bigger. I can title the video if I want to, or leave it blank. So I can just put video if I want to. Again, I can add a question underneath it if I want to. And let's see how this looks. So now I have the video that is playing with sound. And I have my question where I can answer a question about the video. Now, if you've ever gotten a Google form, and I'm just clicking on any question, but if you've ever gotten a Google form that was multiple pages, this is how they did it. It's called add a section. And this is really going to be important in the part 2. So I'll be going through this add a section in part 2 as well. But add a section. So I'm going to click add a section. And what it does is it breaks up my form into 2 pages. Okay, I'm really not going to go through this after section 1 where to go to until we get to part 2. But I do want to show you that when you add a section, you have a couple of little options right here. If you ever say, you know what, well, let's see how it looks first before I go through that, sorry. So you see how it broke up my form and now I have next instead of submit. If I try to click next though, remember you cannot leave that part of your form if you have required questions. So I put something in there, so now if I click next, it's going to go to the second part of my form. But you know what? I don't like that it says untitled section right there. So I'm going to go back to my second section and I'm going to delete that and just leave it. If it says optional and you don't put anything there, it will not show up. Okay? Now, if I actually feel like, you know what, I don't want that to be 2 pages anymore, I'm going to click here and click merge with above. If you click delete section, it's going to delete this entire section. See how it says section 2 of 2? So please do not confuse those two. But let me show you what you can do just in case you do it by mistake. If you click delete section by mistake, notice that down here you always have an undo button that comes up. So if you click undo, it's going to come back. So if I delete the section by mistake, don't, sit there and start crying. You have to come here and hit the undo button because the undo button will go away. Okay, so when the undo button goes away, oh no, I have nothing, I can't get it back. But there's another tip. If you hit Control Z on your keyboard, Control Z will bring it back. Yay! Control Z will bring back a whole bunch of stuff. That's just a computer tip. Control Z. Okay, so let's see if we have any questions. Oh, she said awesome, awesome, good, good, good. Okay, so just to let you know. So you have 2 sections. Notice I told you what delete section and merge with above will do. You can also move, this is new to Google Forms, you can move the entire section in different places. So if you say I want to move this section before the first section, you can now do that. You could not do that before, but now you can. And then you have duplicate section, where you can, just like you can duplicate a question, you can duplicate this entire section, and you'll have 2 of the entire section. Okay? So those are the different things you can do. And what this does is it just hides this little section and description part. So notice you have it here, you don't have it here. It hides all the little answer choices. Why you would want to do that, maybe if it's just becoming too long and then you want to go and start adding more stuff, you can. Okay, and that's it. We're dealing with sections. Now I'm going to show you, if you come to part 2, I'm going to show you something really, really cool that you can do with these sections. Really, 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 really cool. Okay, but for the first part, this is all I'll show you for sections, because we have other stuff to get through. Alright, this is your Google form. Any questions before we move on? If I don't see your hand raised, we'll move on. Okay, so I have my Google form. Now let's make it pretty. If I come here to this first little palette button and I click it, I can change the color of my Google form. Notice if I change the color, the background changes and also my titles change as well. But the really cool one is this one right here. This is where all the magic happens. If you click that, it gives you a whole bunch of themes. Really, really cool themes. So if you were doing a invitation for a birthday party, look at these little flickering. You can have the ones with little lights flickering. If you're doing something for a wedding, look at this, the little ring is flickering. Okay, so you have all kinds of stuff, all kind of cute themes that you can use. Notice that one, he's shooting the ball. I'm going to click him. But notice down here, you can also upload your own photo. So if you have a logo or you have just any kind of photo that you want to upload, you can upload your own photo. So you would just click on that. Choose whatever picture you want to from your computer. Or if I click on my albums, it's going to go to my albums in Google Drive. Oh, he's not big enough. So it won't let me add him because he's not long enough. So I'm going to still pick on my guy with the basketball. So I'm going to double click on him. And now I have this theme. Now, what I do want to show you about the theme is notice how kind of short this is. Because when I click preview, this becomes a little longer. So the reason why I show you that is because if you upload your own picture, it may not look right at first and you're like, oh no, I gotta go resize it. But always preview it first because it may look just fine. So isn't this a cool form? It didn't even take me that long. And I have a nice little picture. My colors all match. I have every question type. Pretty awesome. Okay. Oh, good, good, good. I'm glad. Google Forms will change your life. I'm telling you now. Okay. I don't even like to email people. Like, just fill out the form and tell me the answer. All right. So we have any, and this is just the basics. So you have to come back for part 2. So, okay. So that's how you can make it pretty. We know what the preview button does. Let's go to the next button. You have learned every button on this Google form. Well, except for this little question mark. What the question mark does is if you want to say, you know what, I really would like Google Forms to do blah, blah, blah. That's when you go ahead and you can, oh, look, back to Google Forms. I didn't see that before. Yeah, I don't think it's active. But you can go and you can report a problem. You can tell them, hey, I would really like to see electronic signatures be on Google Forms. And I will say that Google is a company that actually listens to their users, and that's how we get stuff. So if enough people go on here and say, I want electronic forms, then eventually they'll try to see if they can add electronic forms. Now, if it's just one person asking for it, it probably won't move up the list. But the more people that ask for these things, the more we're most likely to get it. And if you click on take a tour, what it'll do is it will actually lead you through Google Forms and kind of show you what everything does, which is pretty cool. Okay. Okie dokie. Now we're going right back to settings. So when I click settings, I have 3 tabs: general, presentation, and quizzes. Now with quizzes, I'm just going to show you how to make it a quiz, but how to actually do all the settings for the quizzes is part 2. Okay. So we're going to start on general. If you want to collect email addresses, that means everyone who fills out a form, you want to actually have their email address without them having to type it in. What you would do is click collect email addresses. But what that means is they have to sign into a Google account. Again, if you're sending this to parents or just to the general public, you don't want to assume that they have a Google account. Okay? You can get response receipts, and anytime you have a little question mark here, it tells you what that means. So this means that the respondents, that's the people who are filling out your form, will get a copy of their responses. Pretty cool, especially if you want, if you have some kind of form that you want them to get the responses to. I don't know why I was going to try to explain that anymore. But if you want them to only get the response if they request it, or if you want them to always get the response. But notice, response receipts is under collect email addresses. So you can't do a response receipt without collecting your email addresses. Okay. These 2 options require sign-in. Now, if you are from a school and you use your school account, this is very important. If you're from a school and you use your school account, for some reason, this is always checked first. That means, stop it. That means that if you send this form out to, even if you send it out to teachers, I don't care who you're sending it out to, if you send this form out, they have to be signed in to their school account to answer the form. This is the default. So if you ever use your school account, you always want to come and uncheck this if you don't want this option. I'm going to make a suggestion that they have this just unchecked. But if you use your school account, I'm going to say it one more time, this is always going to be checked. That whoever you send it to has to be signed in to their school Google account. They can't be signed into their Gmail account. They have to be signed into their school Google account to answer the form. That means if you send it to anybody outside of your school, you're shooting yourself in the foot. They will not be able to do it. But all you have to do is come here and uncheck it, and that's all you have to do. The awesome thing about Google Forms is that it updates instantaneously. What does that mean? I'm going to cancel this just right quick. That means if I send out this form, and then you send me an email and say, hey, you spelled last name wrong. And I'm like, dang it. I'm going to go here and correct it. And that's all I have to do. I don't have to resend the link out. I don't have to re-put it on my website. All I have to do is correct it, and automatically it is corrected for anybody else who clicks on that link from that second on. Or, for example, let's say you did, and I do this all the time. I'll send out a survey, and I forget to put name on it. And I'm like, wait, I'm not going to know who turned it in. So I have to hurry up and put name on it. And then whoever clicks on that link after that time will see name. So that's the awesome thing about Google Forms, is that you don't have to resend it out. It automatically updates as you update it. All right, I'm going to go back to settings because that's where we were. So this is a big one. So make sure, usually you're going to want to come and uncheck that. Okay. If you want to limit it to one response, usually you will click that if you're doing a quiz, because you don't want your students to take it multiple times. But remember that they do have to sign into their school account for that to happen. If you don't care about them doing multiple responses, then just leave that blank. Respondents can. Remember, respondents are the people who are actually filling out your form. Do you want them to be able to edit after they submit? So what that's going to do is it's going to put, and we're going to see it in a second, it's going to put a nice little link where they can click on it. So let's say they just gave you their phone number and they go, oh no, I put the old phone number. I just updated my phone number. They'll be able to click on this and edit their answers. Now, once they move on from that page, they will not be able to come back and edit. And that's going to make sense in a second. Do you want your respondents, everybody filling out your form, to see a summary of the charts and text responses? If you are collecting information, do not check that. If you ask me for my phone number and you check that, you just gave my phone number out to everybody who fills out that form. Okay? When would you want to check this? You would want to check it if you're saying, what color t-shirt do we want? And you want everybody to see everybody's responses. Then you're going to check this. So I'm going to leave it checked just so we can see how it looks in a second. And then this is where you can come, and if you want them to give you larger files, when you do file upload, you can say, well, I want it to be up to 1 terabyte. Okay, or 100 or whatever. So I'm going to save this. And I'm going to fill out my form just so you can see what this means. I'm not going to fill out all of them because we don't want to waste that time. Alright, so that's enough. I'll do one more. Next. I'll do one on this page and then submit. So on your submit, you see I have edit my response. So this won't be there if you didn't click it. So if I click that, I can go, oh yeah, you know what? I did want to put this. And then I can go back and I can resubmit it. On your data sheet, you're only going to see one submission because I corrected it. So I can also say see previous responses. So that means I can see what other people put. So again, if you collected information and you click that, I can see everybody's address. I can see everything that everybody put. So you want to be careful with that one. And that's because I chose these. Okay. Now I'm going to go to presentation. Show progress bar. I suggest you show the progress bar if you have multiple pages of a form. If you have one page, I can just scroll up and down and see how long it is. But if you have multiple pages, I won't be able to see how long it is. So I want to see the progress bar. So So I'm going to say show progress bar. If you want to shuffle your question order, what it will do is it will shuffle up all your questions. But just remember, if you have last name and first name on there, it's also going to shuffle last name and first name. Okay? There is a way that you can stop that from happening, but I'll either show you today or in part 2, or both. Okay? Show link to submit another response. If you click that on that same screen we just looked at, it's going to say, do you want to submit another response? Now, of course, they can just go back to the email and click on the link again, or you can make it a little bit easier for them. And we're going to see all 3 of these in a second. Then you have your confirmation message that says your response has been recorded. You can click and actually change that. I'm going to put you rock. And now I'm going to click save, and let's see how that looks. So I'm going to put my name because it's mandatory, so I can't even try to fake turn stuff in. Alright, I'm going to pick this and yes. I'm going to click next. And I'm going to click submit. So now you see I see you rock instead of your responses have been recorded. And now I see submit another response, which means if I click on that, now I can do the survey all over again. The other thing that we did is at the bottom, notice I have my progress bar. So it shows me, oh, okay, I only have 2 pages left. So, because if it didn't have that and I see next, I don't know how many pages this is. Is it 3 pages? Is it 5 pages? So I see, okay, it was only 2 pages. So let me go ahead and fill it out. It's not that bad. Okay. Uh-oh, nope, sorry. All right, so now you see what these 2 settings can do. And now I'm just going to quickly show you quizzes. To make it a quiz, all you literally have to do is click make this a quiz. That's it. Now, of course, you do have some other options down here that we're going to go through in part 2. Okay? Well, all you have to do is make this a quiz and you click save. Once you make it a quiz, you're going to start seeing a new little symbol down here that says answer key. And we're going to talk about that again in part 2. How do I get my form sent out to people? I'm going to click send. And I have 3 options. I have the option of sending it as an email. I have the option of sending the link out to people. This is usually where you're going to stay. And I have the option of embedding it. Now notice, I cannot embed this form into a website because I have file upload. If you embed the form into a website, that means people do not have to sign in to fill out the form. If you have a file upload, people have to sign in. So just like, I'm going to go delete that question. Just like when you went to sign in for this webinar, that was a Google form embedded into my Weebly website. And I'll be teaching Weebly in October. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this question. So now when I go up here to send, I now have my embed code. Now if you're like, what? Embed code? What? Don't worry about it. If you know how to embed stuff in a website, and again, if you come to the Weebly class, we will go through this, but you'll just copy it and then you use your embed code. You also notice you have Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you just click share with, I'm not going to click it because I don't want it to share with my Facebook. But if you just click share with Facebook, it will share through your Facebook, share with Twitter. It'll share the form through your Twitter. Okay. Like I said, this is where you're usually going to stay. So I'm going to click on link, right click and copy it. Or you notice you have the copy button right here. But you can also shorten the URL to make it a little bit shorter. And then you can copy it that way. So if I go ahead and type out your question. So if I copy it this way, this is my Google form that I can send out to people and they can fill it out. I'm going to go ahead and take your question. So the link is for the form. Yes. The link is the actual form itself, just like I just showed you. So if I come right here again, if I don't shorten it or I do shorten it, doesn't matter. I can copy it. I can go to the form. And this is the form that people will get. So I can send that out through an email. I can put it on a website. I can do whatever I want to with this link. And if somebody, I can text it. I can put it on Facebook, Twitter. If somebody clicks on this link, they go to my form. Now, yeah, go right ahead with your question. Could you put a name like a hyperlink? Well, this is the link. So whatever you want to put a name and hyperlink it, yeah, this is the URL for your form. So if you want to go to a Word document and hyperlink a picture or hyperlink a word, absolutely. This is your URL. Okay, and the third way will be to send it through an email through here. Now, of course, you can always do the link and then go to your Outlook or your Gmail and send it out. But what this will do is we'll send it out directly from this. So I can put someone's email right here. I can put the subject. Please fill this out. Okay, this is the message that's going to be in the actual email. I can leave that, or I can just say fill this out. And you can put as much stuff here as you want to. Now, right here where it says include this form in an email. Now, it's not letting me because I had that form in there, but, and I already took it out, so I don't know why it didn't take it out for me. But if I have a very short form, if I don't have any pictures, or if I don't have any video, and that's probably why it's not letting me because of the video. If I don't have any pictures and I don't have any video, I can include the form in the email. That means when they get that email, they can just fill out the form without leaving the email. It is pretty nice. I'm not going to lie to you. But do not use it if you have pictures. Do not use it if you have video, because some email addresses don't accept video and pictures. And also, don't use it if you have a super long form. Because what's going to happen is, it's going to email the form and people are going to start filling it out. And then at the bottom of the email is going to say, click here to fill out the rest of the form. When they click on that, all of their answers go away and they have to fill out the whole form again. And it makes people really upset. So you only use include form in an email if you have a really short form with a couple of questions. I'm going to say like 5 or less questions. Okay? That's the only time you're going to use include form in email. Add collaborators means you want to add someone to work on this form with you. That means they will be able to add questions. They'll be able to delete questions. They'll be able to edit it. They'll be able to do the responses. So where was that again? Settings. No, I'm so sorry. Sorry. That was under send. Add collaborators. So that's how you get your Google form out. Then you have your 3 little buttons for more, the hot dogs. Okay, and you can do different things. You can make a copy. I wouldn't use undo because you can just delete stuff, but you can undo the last thing you did if you want to. You can make a copy of your form, and it's going to be in your Google Drive. You can move this to trash because you don't want it anymore. You can print it. You can add collaborators. Script editor is when you get a little bit more involved in the Google form and you want the Google form to do different things. And if you know how to code, that's what this is. So that's when you get a little bit more into coding. Add-ons are the add-ons that you can use with Google Forms to do different things. Really, really cool. We definitely don't get into add-ons in basic, but really, really cool. So you can always look at this and go, oh, this is how I can do that with Google Forms. Okay, because there's a lot of different stuff that you may want your Google form to do and it doesn't. So you can come here and, for example, get form notifications, which you can actually do in Google Forms now. But what this used to do was to send you an email every time somebody submits your form. But again, now you can do this in Google Forms. So you don't need this add-on anymore. But a lot of these add-ons do pretty cool things. You can try them out and see if you like it. Just regular people create these. So you do need to try it out, see if it does what you want it to do. If it doesn't, you can always delete it or just not use it. Okay. Then you have your preferences. In your preferences, notice that you have your form settings that will be applied to all of the forms you create in the future. So I definitely wouldn't do this, especially if you're in education or a company, because that means that will always be defaulted on. And you probably don't want to collect email addresses every single time, because that means they have to sign in. This is for your quizzes. If you want to make every question required to any form that you ever do, you can do that, and then you won't have to go there and make it required. So if you have more required questions than not, then you may want to do that. But remember, this is going to be applied to every single Google form you do in the future. Now, of course, you can always come turn it off. And then if you always want to make, when you do a quiz, if you always say, you know what, most of my quizzes will always be 1-point questions, then you want to come and do this because it's going to help you out in the future. So it's going to make everyone 1 point, and then you can go and make the 5-point questions 5 points. But if you know that most of your quizzes will always have 1-point questions, then this is a nice little tool that you can come and do that. Okay? And that was under here, preferences. So now let's look at our responses. How do we get, I just filled out this form 3 times. How do I get my responses? It's this easy. You click on responses. Click on questions to edit it. Click on responses to see your responses. You have 4 different ways you can see your responses. You can see a summary of your responses. You can see your responses question by question. You can see your responses for each individual that filled it out. And you can see your responses in a spreadsheet. Okay? So let's look at each one of these. Your summary of responses gives you nice little charts and graphs. And it gives you just an overall summary of everyone's responses. Question by question goes question by question and gives you all the responses for that one question. Okay? The only reason I have this option is because I said to make it a quiz. So if you notice, I can come here, and I'm not going to go through this because this is for part 2, but I can come here and grade these constructed responses questions. If I come up here and say don't make it a quiz, that goes away. Make it a quiz. I have all my constructed response. That will be my short answer and my paragraph questions so I can grade them. And of course, it's easier to grade them question by question than individual. Okay? And we'll go through how to do this in part 2. And then I have my individual responses. So my individual responses is how, if I wanted to just see Johnny's paper and I wanted to print out Johnny's responses, then I can see Johnny's and I can just look at just his, and then I can come up here and click. Notice it says 1 of 3. Now I can see Sarah's responses, her whole quiz, and now I can see Daniel's responses, his whole quiz. Because I've made it a quiz, notice it says score not released and it has little blanks for me to grade this. I'm going to come up here and make it not a quiz, and that goes away. Okay? If you have a parent, Johnny's parent came, and Johnny was number one, came and said, well, I want to see what he did online. I want to see it. I can come here and print just his responses. Okay. Now, I would never come here and print out everybody's. That's defeating the purpose. But if you have that parent that's just like, I want to see the paper that he did, then you can come here and you can print it out just for that one student. How would you know? Because it only has one of three. How would you know which student is for? You look at the name. So you just have to, scroll until you see that student's name. You can also delete all the responses, and I'll show you in a second why you would do that. Then, notice I'm not doing this one yet. Then you can come here and you can accept or stop accepting responses. So if you tell them, hey, you need to fill this out by 11/22 on August 12th, and it's now 11/22, I can come here and say, I am no longer accepting responses. This is the message that they're going to get. This form is no longer accepting responses. Let's try to go to the form. Uh-oh. This form is no longer accepting responses. Okay? Or I can change this and put whatever I want to put. Sucker. Okay? So now once it saves, it's still saving. I can come here and go to the form. And now I see sucker. Okay? And the only reason I see resume collecting is because I'm logged into the same account. So it knows that I'm the editor. Only form editors can see this link. So your students will not see this, I promise. Or whoever you're sending it to won't see that. But now, of course, Johnny comes in and he says, but please let me do it, please. You can just come here and start accepting responses again. When Johnny goes to that link, it will be open. No big deal. And then if you wanted to undo it again, so you can do it and undo it. Remember, everything you do is instantaneous. So it's not a big deal. Okay? When you know that you are finished editing your form, you're going to come here and click Create Spreadsheet. Because if you create the spreadsheet and then you go and edit a question or you go and add a question, then it's not a big deal. It honestly isn't. But the question may not be where you want it to be on your spreadsheet. So the question may be at the end, but you put the question in the middle of question 1 and question 2. So I usually don't click this until after I start getting some responses. So then I'll click Create Spreadsheet. Now notice it says Survey for Teachers. It has my title that I put for my Google form. And then it puts responses behind it. Now, I can change this if I want to, but honestly, I usually leave it just like this because I know that these are my responses for this form. I'm going to click Create. When I click Create, it gives me all of my responses in a nice spreadsheet. Notice, remember, I didn't lie to you, that it would timestamp when I turned it in. Okay? It gives me all of my answers that I answered. Apparently, I didn't delete the upload form. Okay, so it gave me all my responses. Notice the video and the picture I put in there is not in here. Notice I put this was number 1, so I have number 1 right here. So this is, yay, I have my responses. If I ever want to download my responses as an Excel spreadsheet, I can come here to File, Download As, and download it as an Excel spreadsheet. Okay. So, a couple other things you can do is right here under your hot dogs. So if you want to get an email notification every time you get a new response, this is really good if you have a Google form that you don't know if people are going to fill it out or not, or if it's a survey, or if it's a Google form that you're going to be using for a long time. I would not do this if it's a quiz or something, because you're going to get a million emails. But if it's something like I put a survey on my website, or for a good example is I have I'm teaching a test prep class. So for my test prep class, to register for the class, it's a Google form. So I said, yes, give me email notifications every time somebody registers. Because somebody may not register on Tuesday, but I may have 3 registrations on Thursday, and I want to know when somebody registers. So you can say get email notifications, and now I'm going to get email notifications if anybody ever fills out this form. Where would the email go? It's going to go to whatever account I'm using to create this form. So notice it didn't ask me for an email because it's going to go to this email address. So I'm going to say no, I don't want that. Okay, I see we have a comment. Let's see what the comment is. Yes, it is very awesome. I'm telling you, Google, it's just amazing. And I'm sorry we only have one person in here because it will change lives. But they'll see it on YouTube. A lot of people ask me to record it. So, get email notifications for new responses. Select response destination. What this does is, remember that when I clicked on the spreadsheet, it told me that this is where the responses were going to go. And that's where they're going to go. So I don't have to create another one. But what I can do is, if I already have a spreadsheet, like you remember that student when I said stop accepting, and then I said you can start accepting again, or if I show you what I'm about to do and delete all these, you can tell it that, you know what, I want all my responses to go on a spreadsheet that I already have. So let's say, for example, you have a Google form for first period to do their quiz, and then you have another Google form for second period to do their quiz, because you wanted those first period and second period grades to be separate, right? But let's say you don't want them to be separate. You want them to fill out a different form, but you don't want them to be separate. You want them to all go on the same spreadsheet. So what you can do is say, I want these answers to go on the same spreadsheet. Hit select, and what it's going to say is, well, what spreadsheet do you want them to go on? You click the spreadsheet you want it to go on, and then the answers will start going on that existing spreadsheet. So you really have a lot of options for what you do with that. You can download your responses in a CSV form. You can print all your responses. I don't ever suggest that. Or you can delete and unlink your form. Why would I do that? Well, there's a couple of ways that you can use the same form for multiple classes. The first way that people usually use, because they don't know about the unlink, the first way is that you go back to your Google Drive. I'm going to find my form in my Google Drive. Survey, what was my form called? Survey for Teachers of Math. Here are my responses. They're both automatically in my Google Drive. So let's say this was for Teachers of Math, but I want to use the exact same form, or maybe just change it just a little bit, for Teachers of English. I'm not going to go and create that form all over again. So I'm going to come here, right click on it, and hit make a copy. Once it makes a copy, it's always going to put copy of in the front. So I'm going to click it again, right click, and click rename. So I'm going to take copy of off, and I'm going to say Teachers of English. I should capitalize. So anytime I try to type slow. Alright, so then I'm going to say OK. So now I have the survey for the Teachers of Math, but now I have a separate survey for the Teachers of English. So I can click on that. See, this is my Teachers of Math. This is my Teachers of English. And I can, yes, I know. So I can change it to a different theme. I'm going to definitely take off this file folder. Oh, here it is. I'm going to delete this because it keeps asking me for stuff. There you go. Alright, so I can redo that. And now I have one for math, one for English. I can click responses, create my response list again. If I want to create it and send it to that same spreadsheet of the ones for math, I can click select and I can say, yep, I want it to be on the same one for the math. Is this the math one? I have no clue. I can't see the... Yeah, this is the math one. So I want it to be on that same spreadsheet. So now that spreadsheet will have both of my answers on here. Just trying to bring it all up. Okay. Yeah, too many windows open. Okay. So that's what you can do. That's one way that you can make multiple Google Forms for different reasons, but use the same form. The other thing you can do is to unlink the form. What that does is it unlinks this form from that spreadsheet. It does not delete the spreadsheet. So all you have to do is come here and say, now that's after I've gotten all the responses. Okay, like let's say I'm using it from year to year or anything, or month to month. I've already gotten all the responses I'm going to get for this. I'm going to come here and say unlink the form. So it's going to say, are you sure? Yeah, I want to unlink this form. When I unlink the form, it's unlinking this form from the spreadsheet. But notice the spreadsheet is still here. All my responses are still there. Okay, so it's just unlinking it from the spreadsheet. So if I unlink it, the other thing I'm probably going to want to do is delete all these responses, because I don't want to see the summary and I don't want to see the individual from old people, but my spreadsheet is all from my new people. So I'm going to come here and delete all the responses. So that way it clears off the summary, it clears off all that. And this is pretty much a brand new form with brand new responses. If I click that, it's going to give me a brand new spreadsheet. I may want to label it, Math 1, so you don't get confused with the other one. But I'm going to have a brand new spreadsheet, a brand new everything. So you would click here, you would unlink it, then you would click here and delete, and you have a brand new form ready to go. And you didn't have to go make a copy. But you can do it either way to get a new form. Almost last that I'm going to show you here is one that I skipped, and that's called Get Pre-Filled Link. I always said, I don't understand why someone would do a pre-filled link until I actually had to use it, and I had an elementary teacher come up and tell me how she used pre-filled link. Alright, pre-filled link. So I have my form, right? If I click Get Pre-Filled Link, what it's going to do is it's going to allow me to actually answer some of these questions ahead of time. So if I was sending this to students and I want to send this form to Desiree Alexander, I'm going to go ahead and fill out her name because she never fills out her name. So I'm going to fill out her name and click Submit. So I'm going to go down and click Submit. When I click Submit, it's going to give me a pre-filled link. This link will only go to Desiree Alexander because I have already filled out her name for her. So now she can do the rest. One of the ways I used it for a real survey is what I did was, how do I explain it? Okay, so what I did was, sorry, it was a bug just flew by my head. Instead of doing it for the name, right? Let me get out of this screen. Okay, so instead of doing it for the name, let's say I asked a question that had the state. So I'm going to do a question that says, what state are you from? And I'm only sending this to people from Louisiana. However, I want them to put LA instead of spelling out Louisiana. Now, you can say, well, that's stupid. If you know they're all from Louisiana, why don't you just not put that question on there? But you know what? I want LA on my spreadsheet. Remember, it's all about the spreadsheet. So I'm going to come here and say, I want a pre-filled link. I'm going to come here to state and just go ahead and pre-fill that in for them. Because I want this on my spreadsheet, but I want it to look like this instead of them spelling out Louisiana. And usually I put it in my directions, but then they don't listen. So then I'm going to click pre-filled link. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to click submit. And then this is the link that I'm going to send out to all of them. So when I send this link out to all of them, they're going to fill it out. And they're going to see that LA is already filled out. And they're just going to keep going. So now I have LA on my spreadsheet, but they don't have to fill it out. I have it exactly how I want it. Now, can they mess it up? Yes, they can. Okay? But why would, most people, if they see it already there, they're going to leave it alone. Or you can even put in the directions, you don't have to answer this question. Excuse me, you don't have to answer this question. But this is how I want it on my spreadsheet, so that's why I'm going to do a pre-filled link. Again, so is it something you're going to use every day? Probably not. But pretty cool when you actually need to use it. Okay? That is Google Forms Basic. So you know everything that you can do with the Google form in the basic way. And remember, everything is saved on your drive. Yes, it is. Honestly, Kimberly, it's a lot to take in. That's why, imagine if I tried to do the advanced right now, too. That's why I have it in 2 parts. But just for the basics, honestly, if you start using it, it gets easier and easier and easier. Just like anything else. Like if you leave here and you don't touch Google Forms for a month, then you're probably going to be looking at this on YouTube, remembering where to click and how to add stuff. But once you start using it, oh my gosh, it becomes second nature. It really, really does. So just to tell you a couple of things that are coming up. So we do have Google Forms 2 coming up that discusses how to use quizzes. It discusses how to do branching, and what branching is if someone answers yes, you can lead them to a certain question. If they answer no, you can lead them to a whole different question. It's really cool. How to put a password on a form and all kinds of stuff. Another thing that I show you is, you remember when I said if you shuffle the questions, the name will be shuffled too? But there's a way to not let that happen. So that's one of the things I'm going to show you in part 2. So part 2 is on August 26th, 10 to noon, just like this one is. Another session that we have coming up is next month is all about Google Classroom. So on September 23rd and September 30th is all about how to use Google Classroom. It's always going to be from 10 to noon. The first part is all about Google Classroom basics, everything you can do with Google Classroom. And then the second part is how to use third-party websites with Google Classroom. So it's pretty cool. So the first session you'll learn, when you leave the first session, you are done with Google Classroom. You will know exactly what to do and how to use it. But the second section actually helps you use some of the third-party websites like Edpuzzle and LearnZillion, and how you can use those with Google Classroom. The next thing we have coming up is how to build websites with Weebly. So that will be in October. October is Weebly month. So October 21st and October 28th, we will go over how to build a completely free, very professional, easy website with Weebly. So those are the 3. We don't have a November and December yet, but those are the 3 months. So we have Google Forms this month. September will be Google Classroom, and October will be all about websites. So there you go. And make sure you filled out the Google form to sign in. And that's where I get your email address from. So make sure your email was correct. And I will send you your COU. You get 2 hours of COU hours for this. So thank you so much. This is my contact information again. If you need anything, just shoot me an email. I'm so glad you learned from it and that you're excited about it. It really is, a very cool, free tool, web tool to use. So do you have any final questions, Kimberly? Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Hope that didn't go too fast, but you will have the video to kind of, if you're like, well, I remember she said something, you'll have the video that you can go back and look at too once I edit it and everything. But okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and close out this room. If you need anything, just let me know. Please go ahead and put the comment, either a video comment or a written comment, and I appreciate your time. I'll see you in part 2.